You are listening to Das Bundesliga show here on the Lock Betting podcast. You can follow Lock Betting on Twitter at LockBetting.com. That's at LockBetting.com. That is the Twitter account for this podcast, the Lock Betting podcast, which is a free podcast. And of course, for LockBetting.com, that is my premium pay service, and it has now delivered 119 months in a row of transparent and tracked profit, which means we are just 1 month away from being able to say we have gone an entire decade undefeated without a single losing month in sports betting. 120 months. We're just 1 month away from being able to say that. If you want to come on board and sign up for the service, head over to lockbetting.com and be a part of this history-making month. We've already had a hot start to the month. Our soccer cards as of late have been incredible. We've had an 8-0-1 card. We've also had an 11-2 card, so we are very, very strong in soccer at the moment. We're strong in all sports. We had a little bit of a dip. We had a dip in March, and we had a little bit of a dip in April, both around about the same time. The March recovery wasn't particularly strong, but the April recovery has been, and we've carried it into the month of May, and we look to remain consistent throughout the rest of this month, fingers crossed. So let's begin with this edition of Das Bundesliga show. We start with a game here between Hoffenheim and Eintracht Frankfurt, where both teams are ranked at 6-4 on the money line, and it's 13-5 on the draw. I think Hoffenheim will be the far more motivated team here. They are trying to get themselves out of relegation contention. Frankfurt's season is over, other than the fact that they are in a cup final. They cannot get into the European places, in my opinion. So for them, this is a bit of a dead rubber, which would allow Hoffenheim to take advantage of a side who have gone 9 games without a win and who are particularly poor on their travels, collecting just 1 point from their last 6 away matches. So Hoffenheim on the money line does appeal, but we're going to take Hoffenheim in the draw no bet market as a pick. This pushes if the selection is a draw, but it wins if Hoffenheim win. The only way you lose is if Frankfurt end up winning the game, something they haven't done for 9 straight games, and they've only picked up 1 point in their last 6 away from home. I'm confident taking Hoffenheim in the more desperate situation against a team who will probably view this as a dead rubber. Up next, we look at a game that's important at both ends of the table as Augsburg host Union Berlin. They're the 23-10 home underdogs. It's the same price on the draw, and it's 13-10 here on Union Berlin. Augsburg, they're not a team that you batter. They've played everybody close. And next season, once Union Berlin probably have a little bit of a drop-off, it would not surprise me to see these two teams round about the same area of the table. There isn't actually too much between them in terms of player for player. But Union Berlin have just had a fantastic season. They've got good coaching. They've got good team morale. And they're trying to see it over the line and get themselves into the Champions League position. But this is a difficult fixture because Augsburg are trying to stay in the Bundesliga. They are currently in 13th position, just 3 points outside of the playoff spot and 3 points away from an automatic relegation spot as well, with Bochum on 28 points. So they still need to pick up points here. And Union Berlin, of course, they're trying to stay in the top 4, but Leipzig now are just 2 points behind them. They're on 56 points, Freiburg on 56 points, and Leipzig are on 54. So they also need points. I see this being a game where both teams go for it. This is a fixture that I think will deliver goals. That's been a consistent thing with Augsburg this season. They don't play in boring defensive matches, and therefore I think we'll ride BTTS as our selection here for this game. Union Berlin shouldn't have a problem scoring. Augsburg have seen 10 games in a row played without them keeping a clean sheet. They also have no wins in 5. And Union Berlin, they have no losses in 3. But the key standout bit of data here is the fact that BTTS has cashed in 9 of the last 9 matches to involve Augsburg. So in 100% of their last 9 matches, BTTS has cashed. We're getting that at a price of 10-11 for them to go 10 in a row. I don't see any reason for us not to be on it, and we'll take both teams to score as our selection here for this one. Up next, we look at the game between Freiburg and RB Leipzig, where Freiburg are the 14-5 underdogs here. It's 11-4 on the draw, and it's even money here on RB Leipzig. This would have been a much bigger price on Leipzig here when this is a Champions League playoff type of game, and Freiburg have been so good at home this season. But the price has moved because Leipzig destroyed this team in midweek. Now, you would think this is a bounce-back spot for Freiburg, and they'll do everything they can here to put 100% effort into the league game. But to be honest, Leipzig are just better, and a 5-1 demolition in the Pokal does make it very difficult to see this team ultimately bouncing back against the same opposition here in this game. Both teams to score could be another way to go if you don't really like the selection of Leipzig on the money line. Both teams have scored in in each of the last 5 meetings between the two teams. So strong data to go down that route. But I'm going to go for Leipzig here, the better team, the desperate team to qualify for the Champions League against a Freiburg team who have overperformed so far this season on their own patch and overall, because nobody had Freiburg and Union Berlin qualifying for the Champions League through the Bundesliga this season. Up next, we jump across to the late game on Saturday, and it is Bayern Munich, who are now back top of the table. They are the 1-3 favourites to win the league and 1-3 favourites to win this game on the money line. It's 11-2 on the draw, and it's 17-2 here on Werder Bremen. The fixture schedule is favourable for Bayern to continue winning. I think this could be a game that Bayern Munich win, and we could tack on over 2.5 goals to get us away from the 1-3 territory. They come up here against opponents who have conceded 58 goals in 30 games, the third worst defensive record in the division. They've conceded at least twice in each of the last 8 Bundesliga games as well, and they're up against the best attack in the Bundesliga. At least on paper, they haven't been clicking as of late, but I think they can expose these flaws. They probably will need to score a couple of goals as well, as Bayern themselves have only kept 1 clean sheet in their last 7 away league matches. But they should be able to find those 2 goals against a side who've conceded 2 or more in each of their last 7 league games. We'll take Bayern Munich to pick up the win. We will tack on over 2.5 goals to get us away from that 1-3 territory. This improves the price to 8-13. If you want to be super brave, you can tack on over 3.5, and that improves the price to 5-4 plus 125. But we'll cap it at over 2.5 here as we look for Bayern to win the game. Another way to go for this would be to take both teams to score and Bayern Munich to win. That's also a plus money selection. That's at 6-5. Plus 120 here for this one, as I believe Bayern Munich will win and put the pressure on Borussia Dortmund going into their game on Sunday. And that will be the final game that we cover here. Borussia Dortmund are at home to Wolfsburg. This is more than likely going to need to be a must-win situation. Every game is a must-win situation for them between now and the end of the season. If they want to put any pressure on Bayern, they are the 4-7 favourites to win here. It's 18-5 on the draw, and it's 19-4 here on Wolfsburg. Dortmund's away form has been their Achilles heel, but at home they've been strong, and it would not surprise me to see them take Wolfsburg apart here. They have been sensational at home since the winter break. They've won 8 out of 8. They've hit 12 goals across their last 3 at home, conceding just twice, and they should win this game comfortably. I actually think the price of 4-7 is actually quite generous, and I would not dissuade you from including that in your parlay selections this weekend. But we're going to look for something a little bit bigger, and what we'll do is we'll take Borussia Dortmund -1 in the Asian handicap market. This cashes if Borussia Dortmund win by 2 goals or more. It pushes if they win by a single goal. It loses if they fail to win the game. That selection is available for you at 4-5, -125. And in fact, we are going to make that the lock here on this show. We are going to take Borussia Dortmund to win, and we're going to take them to cover the -1 Asian handicap line. This team have scored 12 and conceded just 2 across their last 3 home games. That's why this appeals. And as I mentioned already, they have been phenomenal at home since the winter break. They've played 8, they've won 8, and if they make it 9 in a row, you cannot lose any money here with this selection. You will end up with a push if they win by a single goal, but this will be a winning bet if they win by 2 goals or more, and that's what I'm expecting to happen. Your lock here on this show once again is Borussia Dortmund -1 on the Asian handicap market at a price of 4-5, -125 for this edition of Das Bundesliga Show. That's it for me. Good luck with all of your bets as always, guys, and Thanks for listening. It's 100 here for this one. Up next, we look at a team we just talked about, Union Berlin. They're at home to Leverkusen. This is probably the game of the week if there wasn't so much importance on the Friday game at both ends of the table. This game could significantly affect the top four, and Leverkusen, who have an outside chance of making it into the top four, would give themselves a real shout by winning here at Union Berlin. They are actually the narrow favourites to do that at 6-4. It's 7-4 on Union Berlin, and it's 9-4 here on the draw. Look ahead spotter for Leverkusen because they are chasing the Europa League and they do play on Thursday, but I still think that they will turn up here and give it everything as they know how significant this victory would be. Union Berlin has been a difficult place to go to, proven by the fact they are undefeated at home this season. Therefore, it's difficult for me to back Leverkusen, especially as a favourite. And therefore, I'll go for BTTS as my main selection. It is a play that has cashed when these two sides meet. Both teams have got on the score sheet in 5 of the previous 7 matches. The visitors look strong and have hit the back of the net in 7 of the last 8 away from home. And the hosts, as I mentioned, have not suffered a home defeat, making it difficult to back the visitors to get the win here, especially as a favourite. I think both teams to score is your way to go. And we get that here at the price of 9-10 here for this one. Final game I'm going to look at from Saturday's slate is Schalke at home to Werder Bremen, where Schalke are the 6-5 favourites, 12-5 on the draw and 2-1 here on Werder Bremen. Schalke back in the relegation zone, but they are within touching distance. They're 3 points behind Bochum, who sit just outside, and they're 1 point behind Stuttgart, who occupy the playoff spot. So this is good from Schalke because much like Bochum, they look like a team who are going down. The bottom 2 places look decided when we are heading into the World Cup, but there has been much improvement from Schalke. Improvement to the point where I actually feel that they might get out of it. But going into this game, it's difficult to take them against a Werder Bremen side who actually just seem to own Schalke, particularly on their own patch. Werder Bremen have won away from home against Schalke in 6 successive games. And although both teams to score could be another way to go here, because obviously some people don't like taking underdogs, even though the data here heavily favours your dogs. Both sides have conceded in each of their last 6 outings, and therefore BTTS is the logical way to play this game. But I just cannot ignore the fact that Werder Bremen always come here and win this match. And they are an underdog to do that again at the price of 2-1 plus 200. In fact, bigger than that in some places. I'm going to take a stab on Werder Bremen here as a pick in the draw no bet market. So I'm not going to take the 2-1. I'm going to give myself a little bit more cover if this does end up being a draw. So with that draw protection, I can still get Werder Bremen at 6-4 plus 150 as opposed to plus 210. And that's the way I'm going to be playing this game here between Schalke and Werder Bremen after unraveling that very, very interesting bit of data. We now move on to Sunday and we now look at Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich are at home to Hertha Berlin. This is the team who are rock bottom of the Bundesliga at the moment. There is no better opportunity for Bayern Munich to win and to win well and to get their title charge up and running here. I believe if they can win the last 5 games, I believe if they can run the table from this point, starting with Hertha, that Bayern Munich will still be the champions of Germany at the end of the season. They are the 1-10 favourites here. It's 17-2 on the draw and it's 20-1 here on Hertha Berlin. I'm going to take Bayern Munich and over 3.5 goals here. The old and trusty play that cashed for us year in, year out, season after season. It's available here at 10-11. And it would not surprise me to see Bayern Munich scoring the 4 goals here by themselves, given the fact that Bayern Munich have managed to score 9 goals past this team in the last 2 head-to-heads at home. Hertha Berlin's last 3 Bundesliga games have actually ended in the defeat. No team has had more Bundesliga wins with 4 more goals than Bayern Munich this season. So despite what's happened with Tuchel, they have been able to pile up wins so far this season. And 8 of Hertha Berlin's last 10 Bundesliga games have featured 3 or more goals. But if you look at their league position, you'll probably notice where they are, and you'll probably realise that most of those goals have been going in against them. So perfect bounce back spot here handed to Bayern Munich on the plate. If they don't win this game, then you can just write them off. Borussia Dortmund are going to take this title, which was absolutely unthinkable going into the season. But I do think they will win. We'll take Bayern Munich to win with the over 3.5 goals tacked on, giving us the price of 10-11 here for this one. The final game features Wolfsburg at home to Mons. Wolfsburg are the 6-5 favourites here. It's 12-5 on the draw. And we're getting Mons here at 2-1. Difficult game to call here, therefore we'll just lean towards the goals. There have been over 2.5 goals in 6 of the last 8 Bundesliga meetings between Wolfsburg and Mons, so I'm going for a similar outcome here. Over 3.5 goals has actually been a winning bet in 9 of Wolfsburg's last 14 Bundesliga home games this season. So instead of taking the over 3.5, we're only going for over 2.5, but we do have the data there for over 3.5, which shows you how high scoring Wolfsburg have been, particularly at home. We're getting over 2.5 here as a plus money selection at even money plus 100 with the under at 45. I don't understand how the books arrived at this price, but we'll take advantage of it. We'll take the over 2.5 goals here at the price of even money plus 100 for this one. Closing out with a lock on your show. At the top of the show, I told you what it was. It was from the Friday game. Well, at least I told you what game it was from. But my selection on that game was Borussia Dortmund -1 on the Asian handicap line, and therefore that will be your lock on this show. If this does end up pushing, I will be posting out a bonus 1 unit free play from the Bundesliga this weekend. So you will end up with a lock one way or another that actually does have a outcome if this one does end up being a push. That's it for me in this edition of Das Bundesliga Show. Good luck with all your bets as always, and thanks for listening.